Concerns over the president's plan to beef up the fight against ISIS by sending fewer than 500 troops to Iraq in supposedly non-combat roles. Some critics are suggesting that the president is simply trying to recreate the ultimately successful Iraq surge, but doing that with far fewer numbers and far less money and equipment and everything else. Our next guest says that this is not the strategy the strategy that failed in Iraq. This is not one that will put it in better shape, and that it may also lead to the kind of growth of a mission creep, as we say, that we saw in Vietnam. Pete Hegseth is a Fox News contributor and CEO of Concerned Veterans for America. Rich Lowry is National Review editor and a Fox News contributor. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you both here. Lily pads, Martin Dempsey talked about, Pete Hegseth, that are in different places across the area, and that has a lot of people saying, you know what, this is the way Vietnam started, and here we go again.
Sure, the incremental approach without a strategy doesn't improve the strategy. And when you talk about lily pads, that's a legitimate logistical technique, a temporary base. But what kind of signal does that send to the folks that we're attempting to help? Well, come to our lily pad temporarily, and then go out and fight ISIS, and then we might leave soon after that. I mean, we clearly don't have the will to see this through, and the incremental approach doesn't reinforce for our enemies or our allies that we're in this to ultimately defeat or degrade ISIS. So this is, if this is an attempt at a surge, this is a real poor man's surge, because we haven't committed to the mission. 450 additional troops to train. Only 50 of those are actually going to train. Most are logistical support. This isn't a real plus up. This is just covering over a failed strategy.
I mean, the surge, which worked, was about 150,000
at the height of that.
150,000 American soldiers on the ground fighting alongside Iraqi troops and incorporating the Sunni tribes as well. And that was really the key, the Sunni awakening as it was called. There's been no effort at this point to get these Sunni tribes to join this effort, because we have this tricky relationship with Iran and seem to not want to tick them off by asking these guys to help out.
And obviously, to the extent we seem to be friendly to Iran, it's just going to alienate every potential Sunni ally in the region, including those Sunni tribes. And the reason why the Sunni tribes allied with us last time is they knew we were there, they knew we were serious, and we meant business, and we were going to win. And now, given the events that we pulled out, and we have a very insufficient commitment now, why would they trust us again? And that's a huge question mark on this whole operation.
Why would they trust us? And another huge question here is, why should our own soldiers and Marines trust this effort? And I saw last night on this program a veteran who said, that even in recent years, he had a hard time explaining to his family what he was doing, what the mission was that he was carrying out. And that becomes another problem, Pete, and it raises that very important question. Don't send one person, not one person, if you're not there to win.
That's
and to win completely, because people are going to die in this mission, and they don't have a good leadership.
That's all that trigger puller wants to know on the ground, is that somebody's got their back, A, and that B, they've got a clear mission that they're going to be given every tool necessary to succeed at. And right now, we're tying their hands behind with restrictive rules of engagement. We're not letting them leave the base. Joe Biden once said, we'll follow him to the gates of hell. No, we won't even. How are you going to follow him to the gates of hell if you can't even leave the gates of your base? We literally aren't willing to pursue and go after ISIS in any meaningful way whatsoever. And we're training a force that's a hollow shell of what it used to be in the Iraqi army.
But you make a good point about nobody being, who's in charge? I mean, you think about Schwarzkopf, you think about Odierno. If you ask any American, who's running this thing, right?
Yeah, you need a strategy, then you need someone to run it, and then you need the resources. And someone was reminding me today, key moment in the debate, internal Bush administration debate over the surge, a general was advocating something short of what would have been the full surge. And the key question someone asked in that room was, will it be decisive? And the answer was no, so they went bigger. Clearly, the Obama administration is not thinking in those terms at all.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Very serious conversation that needs to be had at the highest levels about how this is going to be fought and how it's going to be won, as we say, if one person is going to be put out there to carry that flag. All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to have you both here. So back to the breaking news that we are waiting for.